You see, something is going to happen. Something wonderful.
My God, it's full of stars.
Welcome to the Occult Rejects. In this episode, I'm very happy to have on this guest. He had me on his show recently, and I will say it was actually like a really, really great discussion. I had a really good time on his show. Not that I don't on other shows. I'm always happy to go on other shows, but I don't know. I don't know if it was a New York thing or whatever, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It wasn't weird. It was like, this was just a cool chat bullshit with some dude I just met. You know, so I really wanted to get him on my show. And I am a fan of people who write books, or I'm a fan of, people who take the time to write books. I think that is, I'm trying to like work on one myself, and it's probably only going to be like maybe the most 150 pages. And even I find this like daunting, but it has to be like, it's a passion for me to finish. So I guess I can relate with that, and I find, I just find that that's cool when people have a passion and complete something that takes a long time. I feel that there is actually like heart and soul put into that. And I figured why not have him come on and I guess kind of like talk about like what even got you into writing it, and this and that. And before I introduce you, and I'll shut up, I did forget. I wanted to introduce, I got Lisa with me today, the mad scientist co-hosting, and the guest himself, finally, after me running my mouth. This is why I hate intros. We got Daniel Kristos from Ballbusters as the guest. And what is up, my man? Let everybody know what your deal is before we get into the topic. Just let everybody know where they can find you, your show, any topics that not topics, any sites or anything, links. Just let everybody know, please.
Yeah, no problem. So oddly enough, I have a site that for the last 10 years has been devoted to my hot sauce business because I had a store in Old Town San Diego for about 7 years. And so it's called Semper Fry, F-R-Y.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is great.
So I just recently put up a podcast tab, and on there you can see the podcast player. There's a link to the book, and there's a calendar of when I'm going to be on other people's shows and when they're going to be on mine, so they can kind of know when to tune into Rumble, which is basically the main place. But I got kicked off of Twitter so long ago that I actually had to use my girlfriend's phone number in order to get back on because they had completely blacklisted that number.
Oh, I'm using a different. Yeah, I don't even.
Yeah.
Even the YouTube account is under like a meeting. I had to make a whole new email account and have somebody in another country. Well, I had to research, so it just ended up being in Canada. Made the account, so I didn't even ping the same IP address.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, that's clever. Hey, you gotta get any way to work around it, right? And so yeah, I'm under disguise. Well, I wrote it out disguise, like under disguise, the limits, because I can't even use Ballbusters on there because they've done it. They've taken it down before.
I'm surprised.
So it's called it's like at disguise limits because they took the out of the center. But that's where I'm on Twitter.
Yes, and I'll add all your links too, or if anything. Do you have a link tree?
Nah, not
okay.
yet.
Well, I'll just add all your links in the bottom anyway for when the show drops. But yeah, and the book he has, Priestcraft Beyond Babylon, Ballbusters book. So I guess probably self-explanatory. When you started getting into conspiracy theories, you probably came across Bill Cooper. But like, I guess like what was like made you want to write about this situation, if you don't mind me asking?
It's weird because as soon as I saw the title, Behold a Pale Horse, I put that book off because I was like, I don't want to be preached at. This is kind of like religious crap. It's nothing like that at all. But I just had that preconceived notion that somebody's going to fill me with a bunch of, you're going to hell. And I was like, I didn't want that. So I think I read Secrets of the Federal Reserve by Eustace Mullins first. And I read like Age of Reason by Thomas Paine. And then obviously Common Sense and stuff like that. And just one book would lead to another, and I would start researching that. But I finally got around to Behold a Pale Horse, and it even took me a couple years after reading that to find his old Hour of the Time broadcasts. And there was a channel on BitChute just called The Hour of the Time, and I think I might have probably listened to all of them at this point, or pretty darn close. And I came across his Mystery Babylon series. And driving back and forth to San Diego for the store from Yuma, I would just listen to podcasts, right?
I did that a lot when I drove.
I can just hear it. So I got a lot of time in on that, among other people. But so the way I wrote the book is he introduced kind of like the topics, and then I go into my research on it. So it's kind of like a side by side thing, and not every chapter is like that. But when he had something to say about it, and he could, say it, and I don't have to go too deep into it because it's already been mentioned, then I can focus on other things. And so it's kind of like my way of working alongside Bill, the only way that I can, because he's not here anymore. So, yeah.
What do you think is up with, I know this is jumping right into it already, but like, what do you think's up with his death?
Yeah, I don't trust Doyle. I can tell you that, Shamley. I don't buy that whole story that the police chief came to his house to protect him from something happening to him too, and that's why he found out after the fact. I think that he was inserted into his life on purpose for a purpose to monitor him, and
almost like a handler in a sense, maybe
something like that. Yeah,
trying to damage control.
Yeah, like a confidant, like almost like it's worse because it's really deceptive.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's true, and I don't want to be liable for saying something like that, but I have suspicions. And
it's a theory of yours, that you can wonder.
Yeah, and the way they say that it went down, and Doyle describes it in one of the documentaries about how the police finally, said that they intentionally showed up there one night, plain clothes, playing huge speakers in a truck to try to get him out there because he had, I guess, some kind of understanding with the property owners around his area on the top of the hill to watch over their stuff because teenagers were breaking fences and animals were getting loose and stuff like that. So he would do that as a courtesy. He would take care of their property. If somebody was out there drinking and doing stupid stuff, he'd go out there and get him out of there. So they lured him out of his home. And then as he realizes that they're plainclothes cops doing this, he gets back in his vehicle and he's trying to drive back up to his house, and they try to ram him. And he pushed one guy off, and he didn't, run him over or anything, pushed him off. But by the time he gets to his house, I guess in their orders, they said, don't let him back in. That's an order to kill.
Yeah.
And they're saying that he was one-legged, running, because they had like the fake leg, right? And somehow turned around with a 38 special and shot a guy in the head as he's running back. There's no fucking way. And the angle doesn't make sense. And there you see a bullet hole through like a parked car that he had bought for another suspicious character, his daughter, who showed up in his life toward the end too. And somehow they knew the whole layout of the house and what he had there. But yet she claims she never told them anything. She just said, Dad, they tried to harass me. So there's all kinds of messed up stuff going on with that. But I don't think I think he was betrayed a lot. And I think it's pretty sad, tragic thing. And what happens with these idiots, these cops that go out and do stuff like this? They end up shooting themselves, shooting each other all the time. I think that guy just got dinged by somebody else who wasn't paying attention, and they blamed it on Bill. The guy didn't die, but he did get shot in the head. Yeah, that's right. So, that's what I think happened, because even if we look at so many of these other instances where they go to raid somebody for no good reason, somebody gets shot and they blame it on the person that they went after, and it's usually them that shoots the guy. So they're just that bumbling. They're not really good at what they do.
No.
Watch 3 o'clock in the morning this morning, I'll be like, oh yeah, you want to know how good we are? They like the witching hour for some reason.
Yeah, it's the best one.
For real.
So did
and
you
like
read the Pale Horse with the chapter missing or with the chapter included? The one that they took out.
Yeah, I have the 500 page one. I know they have like one that's like 416 or something like that. I think they took the Protocols of Zion out of one of them.
Yes. Yes.
That might have been something to do with also copyright, because I know they were publishing that again as well. So
Okay.
I did read the whole thing with that in there.
Okay.
And as best as you can get from a PDF, like whatever his documents were that were, looked like they were scanned in an old copier that were added, look like what I can make out of it. It wasn't always right in focus, or some parts were cut off, but yeah, like I saw the stuff with Aquino in there toward the end and all that stuff. So
Was there anything
really?
like in that chapter that was, worth wanting to take out?
Yeah, was it like anything where like, oh, I could see why they took this out, or
yeah, right?
Well, yeah, I mean,
could it be the fact it was just on Zion? That's good enough. I don't know, you know.
Right. It's funny because he tiptoed around that a lot. I noticed, and this is one of the things that I don't understand, except for maybe because Al Wiener, the guy who was, you know, the head of the radio station that, you know, helped him out and got him going and stuff like that, was Jewish. I think maybe he just treaded lightly. I don't know what the real reason is behind that, because if you do any of this research, you're going to end up landing in the Kabbalah, and you're going to end up seeing these connections going up. If you don't, I mean, he would talk more about the Jesuits than he would about, and he very rarely talked about that either. It was always communist, socialist, Marxist, this. But who made those people up? Who are comprised of that? Yeah, you know, what are the majority of the Bolsheviks? You know, and he also, I think, held on too much of the mainstream narrative of World War II, if you know what I mean. And you know, the focus over here in Germany, pay no attention to the mass slaughter going on in Russia. Yeah, you know. But that's not to criticize. I don't know what his reasonings were for that, but I definitely didn't have the same restraints when I wrote the book. And it's not to go after anybody or you're this, so therefore you must be that. No, it's not that at all. But there are, you know, instances where you have to consider that the Lyrian Kabbalah set the stage for Zionism to come about. You know, taking an active role. How the Sabbateans, after being kind of, what do you call it, disillusioned by Sabbatai's, you know, he decided to go Muslim to save his head.
That's how people like Dwight York. I mean, Dwight York must have seen him do that. You know, read that he pulled that off. He's like, oh, I can keep changing whatever religion my cult is, and they'll just keep following me. Like, what the fuck?
Wait, now we're going crypto. We're going to cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So the Donma came about because of that, and then you know, if you follow the line there. So these crypto Sabbateans, not so much crypto Jews, but crypto Sabbateans, because they were heretical according to mainstream Jews at that point, and they would be ousted out of towns if they found that you were Sabbatean. They started, they actually somehow were interacting with Jacob Leibowitz or Jacob Frank, and they started teaching him the mysticism. The Sufism is all over both of those two people. Sufic mysticism is a huge part of it, and that gets into Spain too. Like, there's a real heavy concentration of this stuff, and I don't think people get that. Like, when I would say it's probably most certain that Ignatius or Inigo of Loyola was a Marrano. So like, he was Basque royalty. I go, look at the fucking history of Spain, would you?
Yeah, exactly.
There's Phoenician burial areas, and it's like, what are you talking about? Stop it. But so Jacob gets brought up by basically under the wing of the Donma, and there's a guy named Baruchia Russo who he also said he was the reincarnation of. So self-proclaimed schizophrenic Jacob Frank said he was Jacob from the Bible. He was the reincarnation of Sabbatai Zevi, and this guy Russo. That the third one most people don't really talk about, but then he goes on and just turns everything from dial setting 1 to dial setting 10 and breaks the goddamn knob off, you know. And it's everything that we hear about, you know, the quote unquote elite and these types of people, all this practice, or what we consider Satanism to be, that's a complete description of Jacob Frank's Frankism, where they were duties to drink blood, to wife swap, incest, child rape and torture, all that stuff. And it's part of magic, their magic, their way of going about it.
I'd have to say, I mean, according to like the information that we have, they seem to have been pretty open about like being into like screwed up shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was basically like they, from what I got out of the Frank, out of those people, like I think we covered them a while ago. They seem to have just wanted to like kind of like push it to one extreme to like break the system by degrading man instead of like bringing us up to make a change. We'll just fucking bring in the end times faster.
Right. So the choice is, can we make all men great? That's a little bit hard. It's a lot easier to corrupt all men, right? So they went after all positive forms of systems. So whether they're religious or governmental, they wanted to destroy all positive systems, right? That's part of their credo, their their decree, their modus operandi. And when Jacob Frank was kind of getting pressure from his surroundings, he decided, hey, the Donma went Islam. We're going to go Catholic and Christian. 26,000 people under his influence, including himself, got baptized, and then he infiltrated that direction, into that. So it's not like the Roman Catholic Church was holier than thou. If you look at the history of the popes to begin with, they had some pretty questionable roots, to say the very least. So I don't know what people think of that, but you got to kind of look at it for what you see. Like Pope Innocent III, Pope Boniface. There's some really interesting, horrific characters out there. And none of them have ever recognized our Constitution or us being independent. So that kind of ties into the whole Counter-Reformation thing too.
The thing you were saying before about the stuff not being in there, or maybe like why he didn't focus so much on other stuff. Things that I've even just seen like amongst the conspiracy community. I probably really wouldn't even be thinking of this if it wasn't for Oddman saying something last week when he was on my show. But I've seen it with other people, and I have seen like kind of a divide. There's so many different pockets of little communities and groups in podcasting and truth and conspiracy or occult, but I have seen some people almost draw a line with Zionism.
Mm-hmm.
Oddman had told me since he started covering it, there's certain shows and people that don't deal with him anymore, and I was mind blown. Actually, I didn't think we were associated or knew people like that. I guess he does. I didn't ask him who it was either. I didn't want to know. But, I was just a little surprised. I was like, God damn, really? They're you? They're not fucking with you because you've been covering Zionism recently? And it's just, could that, I don't know, maybe that guy was dealing with the same, could have been dealing with the same shit back then. I don't know.
Yeah, it's possible. And that's a good point. What's really weird about it is it's not exactly.
And I do think there's a reason for that, though. I think the pushback is because there's something there.
Right. Exactly. And it's not like all Jews are Zionists. That's another misconception. So
you could ask Jews what's Zion, and some of them would be like, they couldn't even tell you.
Right.
They'd be it's like an idea, but they couldn't really probably pinpoint something that would make you actually convinced that they understood what Zion is.
Or they'll tell you that it's not right to force the hand. It should come about naturally through God's own time frame, not yours. Right? If you think you should be the one pushing it, then it's a construct of man, not of God. So therefore, it kind of makes itself null and void. Right? So, and then when the Jacob Frankists, if you will, when they converted, you see them people like Swedenborg, Zinzendorf, the Brethren started popping up. Right? You had the Asiatic Brethren, you had the Moravian, which I think were an offshoot of the Bohemian, and then they created the Plymouth and the Exclusive Brethren. Crowley's parents were in either the Plymouth or the Exclusive. So that's straight up Sabbatianism right there, or Sabbatean Frankism. So God knows what his childhood was actually like.
I think wasn't his parents supposedly Quakers as well?
I think the puritanical side of these brethrens is what might stand out. So I think maybe that's where that sense comes from, because apparently they're very strict, but at their core, they were Frankists.
Well, I was going to say, this is just my opinion on it, and this is from covering, when I covered Skinwalker Ranch, that ended up turning into 4 or 5, I think 5, maybe 6-part series, something like that. Crazy long. It was probably about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago on the Occult Rejects. The reason it ended up turning that into that long is because when we started looking at a lot of the people associated with Skinwalker Ranch, the property, or anybody covering anything over there, more than half or a large amount of them are all Mormons.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yo, what? I understand Utah's Mormons, but you also have to realize Mormons also think that there's little spaceships up there, some of them. So you have to start wondering what's really going on with the UFOs around Skinwalker Ranch. But I forgot where. Oh, when I started like looking into like a lot of these Mormon people and just like starting to like look through Mormon lineage, like you started getting a lot of them and the Quakers like coming over here and stuff like around almost the same time, frame, and like a lot of them like. I feel like a lot of them when they were coming, we have to remember this country, it was basically like a refugee for religious people that were having problems practicing their religion wherever they were. It could have been for a negative reason, or there could have been a justified reason. Maybe this person's fucking weird. Right. You have no idea, but we got large amounts of people coming over here like that. And I do think that there was people who were occultists or even part of secret societies that were covering themselves underneath those religions as well.
Absolutely.
So like what you were getting at too, I'd have to really question what kind of upbringing did Crowley even really have.
Exactly. And what's funny is that he was kind of guided by a hand the whole time, because he ends up going into the Golden Dawn. And if you trace that back, you're going to see that those people had roots in Sabbatianism as well, from one direction or another. So it's like he got brought back into the same type of thing, just a little bit more without the mask on it, So it's kind of interesting how that all turned out.
Have you done much work on the Golden Dawn before?
Not really, but like there's a book out there that covers some stuff, and I'll read something from it if you don't mind. It's it says we come back again to that offshoot of the Asiatic Brethren and the Freighters Lucius of the early 19th century, in which Buller Lytton is said to have been initiated. The Golden Dawn was governed by the secret chiefs, who were said to direct the activities of the order through spirit communication. The secret chiefs were related to both those of the strict observance and the ascended masters of Blavatsky. And then they say the Golden Dawn was, at that time, led by MacGregor Mathers, which we all know that.
The secret chefs, that's what I used to call them, secret chefs. Secret
chefs. and then you get right into this again when they talk about the Brethrens, is that like the Hermetic Order, the Hermetic Brotherhood of Light, that was Sabbatean. It's like it's everywhere. Like that's one of those things that cuts through all these other, even like Christianity and all these sects that were allegedly very strict in Christianity. Like they had some secrets going on there.
Well, even like some of these secret societies, like even like with the OTO, I might be grasping when I say the Astra Argentum, but like I can at least speak with the OTO initiations. Like as you go up, they'll be like almost like they will almost start getting like name specific, where it's like now you're having Knights Templar being mentioned in there, or a certain like, I wouldn't say it's like another degree, but it's like an add-on. I forgot, there's a term fucking for it, and I'm screwing it up. But I mean, there's like things that other roles and names and positions that you can take before you're actually moving to another degree, or maybe parts of moving to the next degree that you will. They do have like names to them that just go back to other things,
And I think they invoke.
I mean, they even have like supposedly the Illuminati something that I forgot the way they word it, but I mean, so some people think the OTO is automatically the Illuminati now, which I
don't know about all that. Maybe, but
part of it. I mean,
if anything, it's probably just like, because I think the Illuminati like became the Philadelphians, they became the Reunists. There were all kinds of different sects after quote unquote the Big Lodge went down or whatever. So they were already everywhere else anyway, just under different names, doing the same thing. So we'd have to trace each one of them forensic style to see where they went from there, But going back to that Brotherhood of Light, like they talk about the OTO and the Rite of Memphis and Mizraim being involved with that. And so, I mean, they also say that like people that claim that the Rosicrucians now, they do that for giving themselves clout, and that might be why they bring up names like the Knights Templar too, because I think it's a way of substantiating themselves or legitimizing themselves as having these deeper roots, when there's probably nothing that's original at a certain point, or at least a lot of it isn't anymore. It's not from the core of the earlier beliefs.
Well, my opinion,
I think they get rerouted a lot. I mean, what's the thing you didn't get to? Was it the 11th degree in the OTO? The fun sodomy degree?
I think, believe it or not, I think that may even start popping up before then. I don't know. I don't remember, but no, I haven't gotten that far.
It's like,
No,
congratulations,
luckily,
you've made
luckily.
it. Now bend over.
Yeah.
Here's
some
here's your
yeah,
prize.
there is some weird stuff in some of one of their degrees. They get into the homunculus and all that weird shit. So like you have to start wondering
making
like
a baby in a jar.
if you're
That's
actually
fun.
like talking about like the brain or you know, it could be so many different things. Something I was gonna say. Oh, well, you know, my opinion. I have been questioning it lately, and I even think Lisa might even agree with me on this because of like the stuff that we've been covering, and stuff she's been privy to actually see stuff that Crowley has like written himself. She's gone to you know, the library and actually like looked at his hand notes of writing Vision and the Voice. So you
They
will
have that
see
in Texas, right?
Yeah.
The University of Texas. Yeah.
yeah, so you will see things that you won't see in his book. And I'm starting to wonder if it was possibly a Rosicrucian order, but just not the Rosicrucians. They just took a different name because he's too fixated on Rose, and it's not always his girl,
Right.
you know. And I also find like the whole Rose thing just a very common visual when you're experiencing magic in a way. So, but I do think it's quite possible that it could be possibly like a Rosicrucian order in itself that's just been rebranded.
Yeah, and you know where I get that thing about the Rosicrucians from is actually from Proofs of a Conspiracy by John Robison, which was written in 1795. It was back then that he was saying that they were often using certain names for clout, and that's 1795. I can only imagine what they would be doing at this point, right? Everything's commercial, so I don't know what you've come across on that, Lisa, but I don't have you gotten. There's this book called Transhumanism: The History of a Dangerous Idea by David Livingstone. This is a great book for like a lot of
I've heard of that.
information all at once, and you can trace the lineage a lot. I found this book after I wrote mine, of course. So you know.
Oh, was that when you were like, "Damn, I could have put so much
definitely
extra."
check that out. Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah,
I will definitely check that out.
So
But yeah, like what Nick was saying is that you see, because they have all his handwritten journals, you know, in the collection, and then they have the first print of the Vision, the Voice, which like typed out, and then from there, you know, the subsequent editions or whatever, and you see where he has gone in on the first edition that was written and circles specific words and like made sure that those were capitalized. Like, and it has nothing to do with, oh, it was the beginning of a sentence or it was the name of somebody. No, it's just arbitrary words where he says he wants this capitalized. But then you would flip the page and it's the same word, but he's not asking for it to be capitalized. So it's almost like there was a pattern to it, or there was code to it, or he's trying to emphasize that particular word in that particular paragraph to mean something. There was that, and then the repetitions of certain words that occurred consistently and constantly. And then with the handbook, you saw like a bunch of doodling, like kind of like he's trying to work something out.
You said even sometimes he's writing math, like he's probably doing the gematria on the words.
There was a bunch of math. There was a bunch of like almost like calculations, but there was a bunch of doodling, and it was almost like you look at the next page over, which for me, and not that I'm the same person, but that when you're writing a journal, I don't skip pages. Like I just keep writing, just flip the page and keep writing. But he reserved that one page on one as a way to either edit or think things through or whatever. And so it was, so to me, that was vital, that empty page of what he doodled, and then it worked over to the next page.
That's pretty interesting. That's cool.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but there was a method to the madness, but there was an actual legit methodology to his writing. And so I definitely think everything was calculated. Everything, there was specific.
He was so huge with numbers.
It
had to be. He was fixated on gematria. He really was.
Right.
how close are you allowed to get to it? Can you touch them and look through them?
She took pictures of it and everything. It's just unfortunately you have to get permission to show them that they're actually copyrighted.
And that's to me.
I would have
like
covered
when
this shit already.
Yeah.
Yo, no, I just want to interrupt you before I forget.
No,
and the
go
reason why I'd say I would have covered this shit already, simply for the fact that she found him dropping the fucking N-bomb and saying fags or something like that in his
he
own
wrote
writing.
a letter.
In his own writing. So I'd love to know what the far left libtards think about their master Crowley dropping words like that in their writing, in his writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't wait to show that without having to have it
was-
taken down and be
was
like, oh,
the
you didn't
N-bomb,
get
it was
copyright permission.
Jews, and it was something else. And he wrote a letter to somebody, and it was in almost like in rebuttal, because I think this person had asked him for an interview, and he was upset that he was softballed these questions, or that he was asked types of questions that it's like, well, you're wasting my time almost, that, you know. And then the whatever was put out in terms of the interview was not technically what he was happy with. And so it was in response to that, you know, oh, I guess you have to cater to these people, and that's why you asked me these questions, and you had to put these things out. And then that was the title of that letter, and they have it typed out, and that's part of the estate that's with the collection. But yes, to answer your question, they have his journals. You can touch them, and it was odd because you can touch them, and you can see where he's very passionate about certain topics, where the actual indentation of the pen is harder on certain parts, and then where others it's not. You can tell where he's writing swiftly and you can't really make out what he's writing.
That has to do with up here too, like your mental process too, for sure. It's personality trait.
Definitely think so. You could tell, like, even in his journals, it was planned. Like, there was so much going on in his brain. Usually when you write journals, you're just freestyling it, right? Just hurry up and get it down because it's in my brain and I'm trying to capture it. But with him, it almost seemed like there was a method to it all. And then he numbered them as well. That was another thing. I think there was something else that we talked about, but I have a whole list of all the little intricacies of the things that I noticed of those journals themselves. To me, I think those journals are more valuable than what was written in the books. I think you actually get a personal relationship, kind of like digging into somebody's diary that you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if I was to touch them, I would been wearing gloves and tongs, so I didn't get anything into my.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, because, you know, when I requested, because you have to submit a request and all kinds of whatever. I think they were expecting somebody different than.
She got to look at the tarot cards he used to use and everything.
Yeah. And that's another. Good.
I was gonna say, you're not pasty white with tattoos all over your face. What are you doing here?
It's funny. Well, they told me that. They said, because when I requested, they said something, I don't know what it was, and they were like, we were expecting somebody with like purple hair and all tatted out, and I was like, sorry, I'm sorry, but yeah, they said that people, you know, that's a stereotype, that when they got the Crowley, I guess, collection, they knew that type of traffic was going to start coming in.
So,
but
what first popped in my mind when you said that just certain words were capitalized and they weren't in other places is the reason why I asked if you could touch them is, could you go from one end of the book to the other, just write down those words that are capitalized and see if they make any sense in a different sentence?
I told Nick that. I was like, there is a code. I know there is, just the way it is. And, you know, and the thing is, I got there at 9, I left at 4:30. You know what I mean? And it's like,
for all you know, that could be like,
there's not enough time.
That could be for his writing to know like when a cipher ends and stops and something else changes or something. You have no idea. I mean, there could be something behind that, for real.
Right. Just like even like the next phase, if the words don't make, you know, grammatical sense in a row, then you have to ask yourself, okay, what is then you go back to Nick and say, like, what's the gematria value of each one of these in relation with one another, and see if there's some kind of other code there, right? There's so many ways it could be. Yeah. Or it could just be random.
I think so.
I doubt it. I doubt it's random with him.
Maybe he's like, somebody's going to mind fuck my shit so much, I'm going to do this now.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
and this is just going to mind fuck people one day down the road. I know it.
Yeah, he did like doing that. And I think a lot of times, we kind of got into our, when we first talked, Nick, that I think he purposely was leading people astray if they would, because if you can manipulate, may as well screw them literally, have fun with them and use them as whatever, peon toys that he would. But I don't think he had a lot of respect for the majority of the people that were his followers. I think he was kind of, spiteful towards a lot of, and for him to use the word fags when he was bisexual, it's like weird. It's for emphasis. He said it like a New Yorker would. It's like, we're not really mean it. We're just calling you weak.
Oh, I do think he's considered his followers even slaves to the gods themselves. I do think he's thought that.
Mm.
I think when you look at how much just the intricacy went into just journal writing, you do develop that he was some sort of a genius, or highly intelligent. Let's just go with that, right? Highly intelligent. And I wonder how much of when you surround yourself with people that basically just repeat everything you say or just believe everything you tell them, I think it grows foul in your mouth at some point. That you're no longer being challenged, that the people around you are just basically becoming parrots, and that you are not growing, or because you're intelligent, you crave that intelligence, you crave that growth. So,
yeah, I mean, just imagine if nobody has anything to add, like nothing, no input, nothing. They're not bringing anything to the table themselves, and they're not even questioning what you say. You may as well lead them off a cliff, like a Pied Piper, right? Just fuck it, whatever. If you're gonna follow me, you just gave me license to take you wherever the hell I want to take you.
That's what I think is like should even be like. I was thinking about that today. I don't know what made me make this correlation, but like I was kind of thinking about how like magicians, or you have like all these like all right, you have all of Crowley's books. He's got all his Libers, and you do have like other people who have put out other stuff, and like in a sense. In a way, if they're really occultists, then they're the real deal, which I do think there's some of them out there where what you're putting out, if you're really, I guess, trying to do the best, it's almost as if scientists putting out research papers that's actually legit, showing like, evidence of something. Or, it's like they're trying to advance on an idea or a theory of how is this done. And I haven't seen much advancement in a long, long time, really, when it comes to magic. Like, you really don't see people kind of, like, coming out and saying, like, some of the weird, outlandish stuff that I say, and I know I'm not the only one. But, like, you're not hearing that kind of, like, as people's experience with magic. So, in my opinion, like, how far is all this knowledge that they've gotten or given us or that we're getting either being misunderstood, it's just fucking garbage or mind-fucking us, because we're not handing anything back in and being like, here, this is for the next generation of people to hopefully get you any farther. That's not happening.
Right.
That hasn't happened in a long time within occultism and magic. So like, there's a fucking problem.
Yeah,
there's a problem with the paperwork, with the scientific paperwork that's been published in magic and occultism. There's something wrong with it.
And if those people got fed up with that scenario, that atmosphere, and they decided, you know what, let's screw the next few generations up because they're not going to even look into whether or not we're telling them the truth.
Yes.
Like there's some apologists out there for Crowley that
so many of them.
Oh yeah, there was this one woman I can't remember.
It's like, it's like I never met the fucking guy. I never spent. I imagine you spend at least 10 minutes in his fucking head. No, right. That's impossible. We don't know who he is, so how can you cook for a guy like that?
Right, and what she said is when he's saying these things about the 7-year-old blonde boy as being the best actor, she's like, oh, and that he's done this 185 times in a year or whatever. She's like, oh, he was talking about the orgasm.
Yeah,
I'm like, give me a fucking break. I mean, like, he could be blatant about it because he was covered. He was, he was intelligence. These people were eating out of the palm of his hand, and he was. And when people say, oh, paperclip Nazis, I'm like, do you not understand what Crowley was doing? Like, paperclip Nazi my ass. Like, this guy was the one who revived all these ancient mystery school, like, torture methods. It wasn't just paperclip.
He had to understand what was going on with Nazism for him to give Winston Churchill the peace sign to defeat the swastika. He understood what was going on. Yeah. Like, but you never heard him say anything about it, did he? But if he understood what was going on, and in my opinion, you'd realize this is a magical mind fuck. Why aren't you calling it out? If you were actually caring about humanity, not being fucked even more. Because magic should be about taking off the chains, not throwing more onto your followers.
There you have it. And what do you think about the Lusitania? Because he went over on it twice, and then apparently the plan was made. But I don't know.
I've even said, you know, it's interesting how UFOs got real big after he supposedly died too.
Yeah,
That's true.
he went around opening portals and walking away. This probably had something to do with it.
All right, I would love to. Let's. We kind of veered off there a while. Let's get back to
sorry
you and your
about that.
book, man. I'm
Probably a
sorry.
big topic, you know.
No,
It's-
I mean, it was still. This is great chat, but I mean, I do want to go back to you. You're the guest, you know, and you got this book, so I did want you to, you know, promote it a little bit more. One thing I did notice about, you know, it's funny. Like even Behold the Pale Horse. I never really fully read that book, but one thing I did think was funny is that it was hugely popular in prison and amongst gang members. And I think it was because it's like, oh, yeah, we're like, it was a way for them to hate the government even more. Like, forget about like the kilos I was selling. It's like, oh, well, you're corrupt at a cult system. So now it's like your fault I'm in here. But you know what I'm saying? But like, you know, it's your fault I shot the fucking dude down the street because this is my turf. You know, but like, it seemed to be real big in prison when I did time in prison.
I think Cooper actually may have commented on that before, that you'd be surprised what type of people have read his book and actually are supporting, like, and wanting to learn more. And he would have support in all the strangest places if he ever needed it.
No, there was a lot of his stuff going around that I noticed, for sure.
And like in this book, like I actually bring in at first when I was reading this guy's book, Mass Scheme Whole by Michael W. Ford, I had no idea that there was an Order 9 Angles connection. It just Babylonian magic, and that was it. Babylonian magic, Mass Scheme Whole. So I'm reading this thing and I'm learning some stuff. And Nigashita is this deity, and it's the Caduceus symbol. It's the two snakes coiled in this thing. It's like, so forget about the staff of Hermes, forget about the Asclepius, or forget about, you know, Mercury. This is where this shit comes from. And this thing was like the plague giver. So that's what they adopted for allopathy. So they're straight up telling you right in your face, if you go deep enough into history, and it all comes from Babylon, it's telling you what we're doing to you right in your face. And I'm holding an imaginary staff in my hand right now.
I think that's
not really hexing anybody, but it's like, I can even, if you want me to read that little quick spot real quick. It's 149, and I'll show you the picture real quick too for those of you on the podcast who'll get a lot out of this. So on that one side, that's like a glass or some kind of chalice, right? And then you'll see the Pazuzu on the other side.
good. I
So
need to
this-
get illustrations in this book.
Yeah,
Nice.
a couple. So in this is coming from Asking Hall. It says, as a healing god, Nigashita is symbolized as the crowned serpent, the wise one who brings fertility of mind and body. Nigashita is also able to ravage the land with plague and fever as well, much like Pazuzu. His manifestations are varied, yet usually always appeared as a serpent in some way. And then it says, however, the god of war, plague, and the underworld, who later resides with the Rishkagal for half the year, is Nergal. Probably, and this is me talking, probably because he gave the curator of the dead so much business. And then Urkala is the name of the Babylonian underworld, as in the home of many demons, monsters, and many take the form of serpents and dragons. They will at times feed on the etheric substance of mankind, which is best put as high intensity emotions such as fear and anxiety. They can also cause sickness and death by poison and plague. The Brotherhood of Death, I think we all know that means, like, right, the Skull and Bones and people of that nature, assumes this role, and may invoke these ancient demons in magical workings as helper agents in their eugenic culling agendas. And it says another rendition of Pazuzu from the Pazuzu blog shows his member as the snake itself. Here he also has a scorpion tail. The venoms of both snakes and scorpions are widely used in toxic, poisonous pharmaceuticals. And I won't use that other word, but you know that thing that you get poked in the arm? So I think we're going to be... You probably Yeah. It's a sea Celtic biotech and crops, insecticides, pesticides, including but not limited to by any means Roundup, which also contains glyphosate. I'm almost done. And then it says, the sex organ being the administrator of venomous poison is not unlike that of the single fang or syringe. And then on this page, there's a picture of good old Clinton's Arkansas there. So
Baphomet.
enough said on that one. It's a Baphomet, right? It says the Baphomet child predator here with the erect penis in the form of a caduceus, or as some may describe it, the allopathic medical symbol. So either the semen of the wicked one has healing powers, like we probably told a girl or two ourselves, pertaining to our own, or they're plainly telling you they're injecting an evil seed into you and your children. The fact that she is erect in the presence of 2 children should tell you something else about Baphomet and those who would identify with the symbol. Being that the rod of Asclepius had but one serpent or snake, I believe what is actually being depicted here is the staff of Hermes, the trickster, and god of merchants and thieves. Mercury serves the same role as Hermes, and the Mercury aspect ties into alchemy, as does Hermes. Some may argue the staff is Mercury's. If you don't know, the 2 deities are filling the same position. I would go so far as to say they are attributable to Loki, the mischievous trickster. In some of the tales, Loki got his kicks from deceiving people into murdering their own children. Maybe reconsider the schedule and protect your children from it at all costs.
It's interesting you said Loki because he would, from things that I have read, in people's work on Hermetic Kabbalah, they would associate him with Hod, which is they do say has a trickster-like aspect to it. And Hermes or Thoth or Tahuti would still even fit there. And on Hod, you do get the hermaphrodite as a symbol. So even in that sense, you're still getting like the male and female. So I mean, and then you have children there. I mean, that in a sense could be showing the male and female aspect in that sense as well. And it's even making me, besides many other, things. I'm just trying to say, it's just interesting, how that all kind of does line up in symbolism wise.
And on the lower level, people who are walking by, they're going to see 2 children in this goat thing.
It's meant to like shock the fucking sight anyway. It's meant to,
right.
Yeah.
But are they going to notice that symbol there is supposed to be an erection in the presence of children? That's you know what I mean? Like if it's going to click, I mean, it's even more offensive if you actually look at it a little bit too long,
No, for sure. I remember even when I was in Salem. Even the last 2 times I went, I was like, I think they had like I don't know if it was like a Church of Satan there. They had some kind of place there where you could actually go and see their Baphomet. I was like, I'm gonna go, and I still was just like, once I got there, I'm like, no, I'm not going. I can't even pull myself to do it. Like, I'm just like, this is so silly.
In Tijuana, they have a store that's right across the street from a Catholic church, and there's a giant statue in there. There's all kinds of those wax, that things that you'd use ceremonially, all kinds of stuff they could sell there. And it's all kinds of Baphomets and other kind of weird looking demon thingies. And I don't know what else they're depicting for like, their, whatever they call that thing that they do with the Day of the Dead and all that stuff. But there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
There's a life-size demon female with,
Santa Muerte.
I don't know what she is, but she has detailed breasts and a cooter right there.
She's got the camel toe going.
Than me, which isn't really hard to do because I'm 5'5", but this thing is just like chilling there. It says "Do not touch." I'm like, yeah, no problem. Put my arm around it. Take a picture.
Yeah, it was probably Santa Muerte. They're obsessed with that.
Yeah, that part
Mexico.
is there. Yeah, and I don't know if there's is that a female though, or is that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because all I ever seen is the straight up skull depictions. So.
Yeah, they have Santa Muerte, and then they have the Catarina, which is the Day of the Dead girl. Yeah,
I'm glad you pronounced that because I wouldn't be able to do it as good as you.
That's funny, yeah. Because whenever I've ever thought of that or seen that, it's always just been like a face. I don't think like the thing is, it's because I normally seen it tattoos, so it's never been a body with it. It's always just been the face.
Yeah,
and I think that was something else I didn't know about until I went to prison. It's because of those tattoos.
I'm not gonna ask.
Oh, steroids. I've talked about it on my show before. Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I did time at Fort Dix for selling steroids on the internet.
That's nothing.
It was a skid bit. It helped build character. I'll tell you that much. It was definitely a fucking experience and not one I expected. Maybe I'm lucky or whatever, but it was a bizarre I was just like, yo, this is prison. Like,
Was that one of those things where you go in with what they call it, a minor in one thing, and you come out with as a doctorate in some other crime?
God. Yo, there was people there that were like,
That's funny.
this is the crazy shit. I'm so sorry. I'm not like trying to get off of you or anything. There was, because I remember, because there was even like a dude who like didn't even come in for steroids, but like somehow got obsessed with them. And he was from New York as well. And I ended up running into him. I actually ended up living in his room for a little bit until he left. But and then once he found out that like I was into steroids and like I was like making them. I was like fucking turned my kitchen into a lab, and I was actually like taking the hormones and adding it to the oil, all that shit, but bottling it up, and making. So like this kid was like, before he met me, he was already like this kid was legit taking classes there, because you can take some pretty impressive classes if you actually have like prior whatever credits, or if you were in college. But there's some serious classes there. And he was like taking like chemistry classes and shit, where he was like gonna start like making steroids. But like besides him, so like when he met me, he fell in love and like was under this illusion that we were gonna like start this shit up. And I'm like, dude, I'm not coming back here. Like I'm finding a different way. I'm just not coming back here, dude. You just did 10 years. And no, not for nothing, not to rag on this dude or anything, but like he got popped for 2 guns, and like he was from I think it was the Bronx or Brooklyn. He drove to like Kansas. He drove states to go hand the feds guns.
Oh my god!
Like, yo, they didn't even have to leave their fucking house or their station. You came to them, man. Like, you're really fucking dumb. I would never commit a crime with you.
Criminal intuition.
Like, what the fuck? You literally, for 2 fucking guns, you put them in your car and drove states, which fucked you even more, because now every state you went into and went through is federal.
Oh, man.
Like, are you that fucking dumb? For 2, I'd be like, yo, bro, sorry, you gotta come here. And then, like, the amount that I would even attempt to make it worth traveling with, I'd really have to question, who the fuck are you too? Like, come on. I was just like, dude, like, you're having problems, you can't sell that shit in the streets in Brooklyn?
Right?
Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you're a stupid criminal. But besides him, there was tons and tons of people that literally were, like, learning failed fucking attempts from prisoners, thinking they were going to do it the right way when they get out and not screw up like them. I was just like, yo, like, these people are in here because they didn't do it right, and you think now you're going to do it right. When you get out, when you already have a record, and the feds are going to be fucking watching you probably the first year or 2 anyway.
It's so funny.
Yo, like just fucking stay here. Tell them you don't want halfway house and hang out for a while. Don't go home.
You remember that line in American History X where he's like, embarrassed? What do you mean embarrassed? Nobody in here got away with anything. What are you embarrassed about?
That's right. So I used to think too in jail, like, yo, we all got busted. Obviously, we weren't that great at what we were doing, huh? We thought we were, but there was a rat, so we fucked up somewhere.
It's like, so you want me to work with you when I get out? Have you seen the movie Blow? How did that end?
Yo, I was in with him.
No.
Yeah.
That guy?
Yes.
No.
Yes. He was in Fort Dix.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Okay.
Holy shit.
Bad.
Yes, I met him.
It made me feel bad for him in that movie, at least. It's like, I'm going to do this with my daughter. And it's like, it got me here because I have a daughter. I was like, that would just fucking be very upsetting.
Yeah, he was a grumpy dude about that situation.
I imagine.
Yeah, he was a grumpy dude.
Just friends.
Being given mail, he got pissed off sometimes. He's an interesting character. But I think he stuck to his guns. I'm pretty sure he left prison and disappeared.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they have no idea where the fuck he is.
Yeah, okay. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, you mess with the wrong chick, and she puts a wedge between you and your family, right? Sucks. Oh, well.
All right.
Anyway.
Enough prison memories.
That was the energy of the...
No, it was funny. No, listen, the time sucked, but I mean... at some point, I think in order to make it through, you have to start looking at it as like just one long drawn-out comedy until it ends. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of, I'll even say I met some of the funniest fucking people in there because eventually you have to like just to deal with this fucking retardedness of prison. you know, or to even deal with the people that you're in there with, because sometimes they're even worse than the fucking corrections officers. You have to like just constantly be finding ways to like pull pranks, say silly shit, do dumb stuff, troll other motherfuckers, you know, start up a fucking bullshit fucking, you know, little bullshit story and watch it fucking turn into a fucking fight 3 days later. You know, there's all sorts of things you'll do in prison to like laugh and get away, you know, I guess to deal your time. But it was definitely an experience, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, I guess I didn't want to have to lose 2 years to it, but like it definitely has opened my eyes, I guess, to like ways that the world is that I didn't know because I was never subject to it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, it's the weird stuff is when you're, oh, that's offensive to you as well. Sorry, I wasn't supposed to go to the bathroom just now. Got it. My bad. It's like all kinds of stupid things. Like, like I only spent a couple months, but that was something stupid.
Oh my God, yeah. No, obviously I was lucky. I was at a low, so I guess like that's what made it like when I say it was like even just bizarre. Like there was just things going on there that I just was not thinking was going to be acceptable or allowed or just out in the open, and I was just like, whoa. So like, you know, like it really was a very different experience than going to like a medium where like all of a sudden now you had to start kissing everybody's fucking ass around you. Yeah. You know, for no reason. I just came in. I don't even fucking know you. For all I know, you fucking like 8 kids on the fucking weekends or diddled kids and just didn't get caught for that. Just because you didn't get caught for that didn't mean that you didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? So like I'm just supposed to respect some motherfucker for no fucking reason and sign their bullshit and think like them. It gets real fucking weird and mind controlled in prison from the prisoners.
I think the biggest takeaway I had from that is I don't ever want to do another burpee.
Oh.
It's like whenever it's like
see now you just killed the end. Now you just killed it. Fucking burpees,
fucking
bro.
memories, not doing
I never once did them again once I got out. Never once.
Well,
it's like fuck no. Right I remember I'd be doing that shit with my boys. Like sometimes we'd get up early and do like shit before breakfast. And like there was one kid that I knew, like he had a really good thing going on, but like he did burpees and I hated it. And like every once in a while when I'd go, I'd be like, why the fuck did I fucking come here again? And it's like now I got to stay or I look like a fucking bitch. So like I'd be like, I hated burpees by the time I left prison, dude.
They had some stupid rule like if you're 34 and above, you don't have to do them, but if you're not, you have to do them. Whatever. I'm like, who makes these fucking arbitrary cutoff lines? Whatever.
Somebody who was 34.
People all across America are doing burpees at the CrossFit 35. Gym. That's the only thing that's going through my head. Yeah.
Yeah, right. They're paying for that.
I've seen people come out and actually get like YouTube channels going off of like jail workouts.
Yeah.
So
well, hey, they need to do something. They can't get employed.
You're fucked. Oh, so funny. Yeah, I remember when I got out and like one of my boys that I used to like hardcore at the gym with him, another guy from New York that I met, cool dude. And I remember when he got out before me, but he had much more time. And I remember when I got out, he was like sending me like YouTube channels, and he was like, "Yo, dude," he's like, "These motherfuckers are making money off of fucking jail workouts on social media." And I was like, "No." And he was like, "Yo," he's like, "I don't even think this guy went to jail." And he's like sending me shit. He's like, "Look," he's like, "I don't think he even went to jail." He's like sending me like personal shit he's trying to find on him. I'm like, "What the fuck, dude? Like, calm down." It's just fucking. It was so funny though.
There was a whole fad for that during the lockdowns, right? They called it body weight exercises.
That's right. They did. Because you couldn't find any of the weight stuff to save your life because everything was already bought out. So you had to do the body weight.
Yep. Those good times. Luckily, I had all my stuff, but yeah, it was. I hated that. Though that was the downfall of the store, by the way. Is 2 years after that, which is like the war of attrition. I finally was like, "Here's the keys."
Oh.
So, yeah, nice. But it's all good because we're probably gonna start up one here in Yuma, closer to home. I actually got us out of California because of our first wellness check with our daughter, and like, "Oh, you know what time it is, don't you?" I go, "Yeah, you know what time it isn't." Because you're not doing that, motherfucker. So I didn't want my daughter to be constantly harassed or us to be harassed or pressured into getting those things we can't talk about here.
Oh, my God. Really?
So I moved us 3 hours away, and I just went back and forth to the store after that. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesus.
I protected my family.
It was that bad.
Holy crap.
Well, that was 2016, and it was just like, well, you know what it is. And the guy beat red when I told him he wasn't going to do it. I'm like, yeah. Chances are they killed my 2-month-old brother with those. You're not touching my daughter with them. So that was that. And after that, I just started looking, and I was like, well, the closest place on the other side of any border would be Yuma. So that's what we did. And I just made the commute. Had to pay way more in labor because I wasn't just right around the corner anymore. So I had to, you know, trust it to employees and stuff like that. So it was worth it. She's doing very well, and she never had to have one of those. So
Good. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Very
That's
good.
amazing.
Something I did want to ask you now, like with your book, are you kind of like going into like things that he like maybe covered and maybe going into them deeper? I didn't get to look at the book yet. You just sent it to me last night. There's no way.
I'll give you a quick scenario of the chapters, and just
Okay.
so he does pop up a lot, but not so much that it's saturated. Like, it's still my book. You know
Okay,
what I mean?
all right.
It's a lot of it's my research, but if there's something that he said that I really resonated with, and it was one of his things, I'll let him speak for himself in the book. And so there's a lot of this stuff was transcribed, like the darkness in the introduction. There's one called Darkness, and it's kind of like the setup for his Mystery Babylon series. But then I go right into Edmund Ronayne, who wrote the book The Master's Carpet, or Mahabone. And Edmund Ronayne was like a very well-respected, very highly regarded Freemason who was apparently finding lost information and trying to like get the structure back into Freemasonry. And then he stumbled across some information that he didn't like too much, and he kind of became one of the worst enemies. And whether that was contrived or not, I don't know. But Edmund Ronayne kind of stands out as saying, like, this is the cult of Baal over and over and over again. You know, you're going to be tied to the cable toe of Satan if you when you enter in these by your own free will and accord. You've surrendered yourself to the order. It's very, he doesn't mince any words when he talks about it. So I go into that a lot, and then I go into the Ugaritic text for the cult of Baal. One chapter called "A Spider Does Not Stick to Its Own Web," talking about how like they master and manipulate everything, but they don't get caught up in their own bullshit, right?
That's a good
Babylon and the Mystery Schools, Morals and Mysteries, a little bit of Albert Pike in that.
Oh, nice.
And then I go through some of the Masonic initiation, like the first Entered Apprentice one, and then some of the Widow's Son, which is the Masonic account of Hiram Abiff. Going into Egypt a little bit, the oral and written Kabbalah, and then I start talking about Isaac Luria. This is where it like really starts to kick off, is like the Luria Kabbalah, Jacob Frank, and then we start talking about Ignatius of Loyola, the Knights Templars, Hospitaller, and the Holy See and the Rothschilds. A very interesting connection there, because after Napoleon pretty much beat the piss out of them, they took a huge, I don't even think it was a loan, I think it was just given to them by the Rothschilds. Like in today's money, it was like ridiculously phenomenal amounts. And some might see that as being the Rothschilds owned them, but I think it's the Rothschilds were servants to Rome, and whatever their bloodline was back in Rome, I think still prevails. Like you can see old paintings of them with what looks like the Star of St. Sylvester, the cross of St. Sylvester, or the 8-pointed cross of the Knights of Malta, one or the other, that they're wearing. So that's either given to you as an accolade for your service to Rome, or it's indicating that you're a part of an order. So if you're wearing that, you're a servant to them.
Oh, I see.
You're a protector of that order, right? So call yourself a Jew, a Zionist, or a Frankist if you want, but I think Rome is still, by proxy, running the show.
That is an interesting symbol. Looking at it now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And then I go into the Dome of the Rock, the Stone of Foundation, the Kaaba, and the Black Stone of Mecca, and get into some of the Saturn stuff there. The
nice.
Canton Square of Saturn. Sam Walton even pops up with his little Walmarts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. AI, parasites, demons, or same. So there's all kinds of stuff that's covered here. And then, a whole lot of jumping off points for the next book to get into greater detail. And then we're going to get into eugenics in the next one. And
Oh, nice. Eugenics.
because that comes straight out of like the Kabbalah as well. And it comes the Illyrian.
I think
one, and
eugenics is a deeply underlying thing amongst a lot of cults too.
absolutely. And then you have like Darwinism was just let's legitimize the Kabbalah. Let's these people are dragging us down because they're primitive. And yeah, I think he like killed a whole island full of people that were quote unquote bringing mankind down. He was like a genocidal maniac. And then Thomas Huxley was the guy who basically was they call it the bulldog of Darwinism, because he was the one who was a better orator and was able to, like, stand on stage and have their little Jesuit theater performance where they pretend like they're having a conversation naturally and convince a crowd of a bunch of elite idiots. Yeah, hey. And it was all about destroying Christianity and destroying whatever you want to think about that, about destroying anything that. And again, I have to always measure this with the Roman Catholic Church was fucking evil. They were despotic and they were ruining people's lives constantly. So you could understand why there'd be animosity to that. But but is that the same as Christianity? Probably not. No, not at all. At least not these days. But then you go back and you look at yourself. Well, who were the Christian pioneers? Who were the Lutherans? Who were the Protestants? It's like, oh wow, Rosicrucians, huh? He stamped it with the Rosicrucian symbol, did he?
Yeah, see, that was something we even came across. I mean, we might even see more of it moving forward with another person we're going to cover. But like the stuff that me and her have touched on with Rosicrucianism, you get Lutherans and maybe it was a Protestants. Calvinists, yes. Yeah, and the weird thing is, it's like one was like supposedly not like cool with it, but yet you had people who were into Rosicrucian shit friends with both. So I don't know, like, I don't know.
Yeah, what gets really weird is in that 1795 book I was telling you about, the Proofs of a Conspiracy by John Robeson. He outlines how, so supposedly the Freemasonic Order is an enemy of the Jesuits, but when they got, disbanded, if you will, and then reinstated later in 1814, they found their way into the Freemasonic lodges and they used them as a shield, right alongside Protestants who went in there because they were fleeing the fucking Jesuits. So what the hell is going on in these? Like, everybody was just mortal enemies, would murder each other, smash your baby's head on a rock, the poignard, all these things that they say in their Jesuit oath, and yet they're hanging out together in the Masonic lodges because something else was going on there. And after the 1780s, it was called Frankism. That's what was going on there, and it was galvanizing all of that stuff. It's very strange stuff.
Yeah, there's something up with, like, I just feel like there's a lot of religions that really do tie back to, occultism in a sense, or secret societies. It's just very weird.
And for me to say, like, Lutheran Kabbalah and the Frankists, like, that's just
I was going to ask you
more recent, like, revival of shit that was going on. Babylon, Sumer, like the priest kings, the priestcraft, all that stuff. It's just, hey, let's just. It was like, hey, I just outlined the game plan. Let's go score a touchdown, something like that. It was just they were organized at that point.
And you said Lurian Kabbalah too, right? Just now.
Yeah, Isaac Luria.
Yeah, it was funny. Even it could have been something that Lux brought up. That was like the one unfortunate thing sometimes when covering something with like somebody else. You may not really absorb everything they are covering because you didn't cover it. You didn't look it up yourself. So maybe Lux might have mentioned something about it, and I just don't remember. But when we even covered the Frankists, I mean, like, I knew that he had his own kind of version of Kabbalah that he was using, because I even think I guess take it for who it came from. But even Blavatsky even said that version of Kabbalah was the most corrupted. She said it was the most corrupted version you could be using. So like I never
I took that quote that she talks about it.
Yeah, right. So it's like, even if she's saying that, you might have to like really question, but then again, she's another occultist, you never know. But like, I did find that interesting, but like, I never really knew the name of the style of Kabbalah that he was using. I'm sure, I don't know how, maybe I don't remember from the Frankists. And I heard somebody else recently say it last week, and now you today, and I've never heard it until recently.
So what's funny about the Lutheran Kabbalah, quote unquote, is that it was just a collection of Isaac Luria's papers that his followers like organized, and it later became known as the Lutheran Kabbalah.
It's probably like
the
his
ideas
theories on
were in
Kabbalah.
there about the the breaking of the vessels and the husks and the profane and all this other crap, and having the Shekinah kind of wallowing in the crap with us and all this other stuff. So having to weed that out and getting rid of everything, kind of basically crushing everything and sending all energy back to source, and the big redemption through sin, if you will. But here's another interesting thing out of that other book that I was talking about, transhumanism. Actually, Dave Livingstone is going to be on Friday with me. It's
Oh,
Crowley was
nice.
born to a wealthy family which belonged to the Plymouth Brethren, successors of the Moravian Brethren of Count Zinzendorf. After reading Arthur Edward Waite's book Black Magic and of Pax, I think it says, which hinted to the existence of a secret group of initiates who dispensed truth and wisdom to the worthy, a young Aleister Crowley wrote Waite and was directed to read Eckhart Hausen's book. Crowley's search for the secret wisdom eventually led him to become a neophyte in the Golden Dawn. So this is how it goes from the brethren that we know are Sabbatine and Francis straight into the Golden Dawn. Like he's being led into the Golden Dawn, which purported to be the visible and earthly outer order of the Great White Brotherhood.
I've heard of the Great White Brotherhood.
So that's pretty interesting. And apparently Crowley also was convinced that he was the reincarnation of Eliphas Levi.
Yeah.
Yeah, who died the same day or same year he was born.
Always makes me think of Wilcox, thinking he's a reincarnation of some guy that he always claims to be reincarnation.
Not David Wilcox. But you don't talk about that guy, are you?
Yeah, he's like a conspiracy dude.
Yeah,
UFO
the guy at TV, queer.
Yeah, he claims that he's like, God, I can't believe I forgot it now. It's not even
Funny.
pointless for me to bring it up.
As being like, just burn some incense and run through the tall grass.
I can't with that dude. I can't with he's a joke. Oh man, yeah, Elvis Levi. Did you? I know I had mentioned that at the beginning. When it comes to like, you would probably know more than me with Bill Cooper, but like, isn't there actually a lot of things that he was talking about in that book that like has kind of like taken place or we're headed in those directions?
Oh yeah. There's a lot that I have another shirt that I made, not this one, but I wore it when I was on with Mike Adams. So I got to be on like his main stage like through one of these things, but it says Bill Cooper was right on it. And the reason why I made that shirt is because I got what do you call it? Press passes, media passes to go to the Las Vegas Reawaken tour, which is like an indoctrination camp for pro-Trump and Christian Zionism. Before it even happened in October, they were already setting the stage for that shit. And working everybody through the merchant stands on the way out the door too. Of course, each time there was a new speaker, buy the book. But what was I talking about? So I saw a bunch of people walking around with these shirts that said Alex Jones was right on it. I'm like, Alex Jones steals every fucking thing from all other people. I'm like, he wasn't right about anything. Or his people, his handlers, tell him what to say.
Exactly. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. It's funny. When everybody says Alex Jones on my show, I'm always like,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's like, so
I have to worry about like what they're going to say. And it's like,
yeah.
do I laugh at this or do I just like sit here and like, oh, okay.
That brilliant man. Yeah, that brilliant man who's definitely not just an actor.
Yo, you know what is, listen, one of the even, not to get on him, but like even one of the funniest things I think is like, yo, at one point he was even denying that Bohemian Grove was up to anything. And I was like, motherfucker, it was technically you who showed us what was going on. And now you're denying that they do anything or they have any of importance? Make up your mind, man.
Yeah, back when it was okay to talk about Zionism, apparently in a different era, a different decade, he was all about shit screaming out of it. Now he's like, no. He's talking to other people. I have a hard time believing it. Just cut you off.
Impression.
Yeah.
He's like a really entertaining Mark Levine.
Oh man.
Yeah, after like 2 minutes, he takes off the glasses. That guy starts fucking spazzing out. Mark Levine.
I mean, you would be burdened with a lot of pressure if you knew what was making the frogs gay.
Oh man, I'm sorry. All right, so let's get back to it. I guess
that's a real thing, but that's what he does with truth, right? It's like atrazine doesn't just do that to frogs. Atrazine messes people up, and plus you're getting shot with things that have maybe different sexes of dead babies in it being injected into you, confusing your biological makeup. So he's making something that's true into something ridiculous and clowny so that people don't look at it anymore. And I think that's how he washes truth, and that's how he ruins truth, is that when it comes from the crazy man, it's no longer valid to anybody.
That's
anymore.
exactly what's going on through a lot I'm glad you saw it that way. I'm not even going to go into it anymore, but I think what you're saying right there is being done by a slew of important people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's keeping people totally ignorant to shit that's really fucking deep and important. That's just my opinion.
Yes.
All right, so back to Bill Cooper.
Okay.
Some of the things, that were.
Wait, so you made the shirt. You made the
Yes,
shirt.
that's
of
right.
Bill
Yeah, I
Cooper.
totally got.
Yeah.
So
You
the Bill
made your
Cooper-
shirt of Bill Cooper.
Yeah, the Bill Cooper's was right shirt. So it was funny that I happened to be on. So there's an InfoWars connection with Mike Adams. Mike Adams is decent to me. He's a nice guy to me, right? So I was on the thing and I had a chance to be sitting back.
I've actually made it on
Info.
InfoWars myself too, due to somebody else's show. I was on there twice.
You were on InfoWars?
Twice, not with him, but like due to other people on his whatever. They told me,
cool.
"Oh, this is gonna be on InfoWars." I was like, well,
Yeah, and because he has that connection, I just thought it was great. Like, payback. So not only did I get to wear that shirt, but I got to talk a deserving amount of shit about Stu Peters and his little contrived interview with Brother Nathaniel, where Zionism is a nothing burger, and so are the tunnels and all this other shit, this whitewash that they were doing. I'm like, yeah, really? So let's talk about that for a second, should we?
yo, that shit in New York, they covered that up with like in a day.
Yeah, of course.
I think it was like the next day, weren't they there with cement trucks and stuff filling it in?
Well, I think the guy who owned the other building was the one who called them in the first place because his foundation was getting
Oh.
weak, and he was hearing them doing some kind of weird chanting
Yes,
and
I
shit
have heard
through his
that.
walls. He's like, "The fuck is this?" And they said, "Well, it was only 50 yards long." I'm like, "Yeah, but what other tunnels did it connect to, asshole?" It's like, doesn't matter what that tunnel was. It's like, what other things did it connect to?
Yo,
throughout
there's
the
so
city?
many tunnels that were just made just for the infrastructure around there to work. How do you know they didn't tap into one of those or something? I mean, you have no idea what that connects to. You're right. I mean, that could go to anything.
And he was saying that, like, this Brother Nathaniel was saying, I don't care if what they're pulling out of there. It's just a ritual bathhouse, but you have to get down to the groundwater. And if you just have a little bit of groundwater, you can fill the rest with tap water, but you have to have that ritual groundwater. So even when they're doing something that's sacred, they're still faking it. And they're still they're still giving the cheap copy of it, even to themselves, because it's just put some tap water in there. Now they got the ground. But that was his excuse. That's what it was. But it was filthy in there. Like, how is that a sacred place for a bathhouse, right? It's like, so he's like, I don't care what they pull out of there. So you don't care if they pull out a blade mattress. You don't care if they pull out a bunch
Oh,
of
that
kids'
shit was disgusting.
car seats. Like, so if they were throwing rotting baby parts over their shoulder when they were filling this, that no big deal, right? Because it's
Oh, they were
just a
praying.
ritual bathhouse. Come on, man.
Looking weird. That was some weird shit.
And now you're canceled.
I'm fine.
I am not
Fucking-
allowed on. This is why nobody lets me go.
No, you're fine. You're fine here, man. You're fine here. Oh, it's just hilarious.
Lisa, how are you?
I'm good. I want to ask you. So, what made you pick Bill Cooper?
For the book? Or do you mean? I don't
Just
think
to-
he's been. I just because there's so much stuff has been circulating lately that has been originated from him, because I've listened to enough of his work to know when people are taking something and it's all brand new when it's recycled 40 years later, 30 years later, 20 years later by complete hacks like
Oh.
Stu Peters, like Alex Jones, who was stealing from him when he was still alive. And I'm pretty sure his buddies in Austin's version of Silicon Valley is the reason why Bill Cooper's website went down. Because when he was getting his cyber attack back in the day, he said, this is all coming from Austin, Texas. So, just because
I
Bill
did not
can't defend
know
himself,
that.
it might be time for someone else to remind people what a scoundrel he is. So, that's the reason why I wanted this generation to at least know his name and know what he was about, so that they are curious enough to look for his radio shows and stuff like that. Because people don't usually pick up books, but they'll listen to something while they're doing other stuff, So I transcribed a bunch of his stuff in here, and as well as the majority of it's, like I said, something that I put together. But if it worked with what I was going to talk about, then I would let Bill speak on his behalf on certain topics too, and then it'd be like a jumping off point for me to continue on the conversation. And there you go. So you get to introduce the real guy, and then if you actually see like the level of character of him versus what we're being given now, it's like, people set your standards higher. Don't go for the stupid ass clown in the room, or the angry guy who wants everybody to get into a revolution like Stu, and divide the country and have everybody like. If you're that anti-Jew on your show, obviously, if you're still on and not canceled, it's because they want people in the comment sections to reveal their thoughts so that they can threat assess them.
Yeah.
So it's a honey pot.
cast net.
Yes. A lot of that is analysis, I think.
So it's like, I don't know. How about you just raise your standards higher? This guy was a real legitimate person. He didn't make anything barely off of what he was doing, barely sustained life. And you guys have all these guys in these huge, rich studios, and you think that that's natural.
Yes.
When you tell the truth, you don't get very far when you tell the truth.
You know what's interesting too? Like, you did have. I mean, I understand a lot of his stuff was still circulated, but like, this is my opinion. There's a difference between somebody sitting in a chair behind a microphone and somebody who's willing to go to a place that's going to be surrounded by people in person. If you're a real fucking shady piece of shit, you might be a little iffy about doing that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because a lot of times Alex Jones is booked for a lot of these things he never shows, ever. Sometimes they'll say he'll like via some kind of a virtual, like a video, like what we're doing right now. But that's even rare. Usually like somebody like that goof troop. What is his name? The guy with the weird hair. I forgot his name. Oh, the one Troyer. I forgot his first name.
Sorry.
Vern Troyer is the midget guy from from Austin Powers. This guy's some other Troyer. I forgot his name. But yeah, so he's on InfoWars as well. So usually he shows up instead of Alex. But yeah, you're right. Like you had Bill Cooper going to Wimbledon Stadium back in like I think it was '93 or something like that. It was just before the Waco thing happened, because there was Wembley Stadium. Sorry.
Okay, Wembley.
And it was some people had approached him and asked him to help them because said they're after our children, and he just took their stuff. He's like, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm from America. He was in England, obviously. And when he later opened up his briefcase and was looking at it and seeing the aftermath of what happened to Waco, it was people from the Branch Davidians that were trying to get him to help them.
Oh wow.
Right.
Yeah, and he's like, I have to live with that burden. So a lot of his videos a lot of his broadcasts were about, really sticking it to people for doing what they did to the Branch Davidians. Yeah.
That's wild.
It's pretty heavy stuff there.
Fucking Branch Davidians just pop up out of nowhere. Gotta love it. I think if this is okay, maybe we'll just wrap it up here. We're almost at an hour and a half, hour and 22 minutes in. I had a really great talk, man. I would love to have you back on again. I'm sure I'll have you on in the future. Yeah, let everybody know again where they can find your stuff. Again, for the listeners, as usual, the links will be in the show notes. But let the people listening know where they can find your stuff.
In the private chat, I also put it up so you can see it. It's the Semper SEMPER Fry FRYLLC.com. And then you can go there. There's a podcast tab. You can just click that if you want to see the stuff, and then the book is there and all that stuff. If you like hot sauce, there you go. Also, the Rumble channel is just called Ball Busters, but I do put the little thing between the two A's because it's Baal Busters, apparently, according to the people who speak Hebrew. I actually made sure I learned exactly how it's said because people are like, what is Baal Busters? I'm like, that's obviously not how it's pronounced, right? But that doesn't make any sense. But it does Ball Busters because it's medically a joke, and I'm from fucking New York, so haha. It was like, and I had to do the Ghostbusters sort of Lego, right? I had to do that. So
no, when I even first saw it, it caught me off guard. I'm like, oh wait, I think that's Ball Busters. Like kind of playing off that. I was like,
I have a little paragraph in the book where I'm like, so this is how it's pronounced.
Nice.
It's more like So.
Anything else? Any other links or anything?
The Rumble channel is rumble.com/C/ballbusters, or you just click it, and I'm on Twitter and all crap. It doesn't matter if you find one thing and you find the description of any of my videos, it tells you.
Yeah, I'll have all your links and I get what you're saying. Yeah, but I'll include all those. I'll include your Rumble, the Twitter, and whatever else you want to send me. For some reason, I didn't get anything in the private chat, so afterwards, just wherever we're DMing or wherever you want to email it, however you want to get it to me, just send me whatever links you want me to use, and I got you.
All right.
And Lisa, thank you very much for jumping on. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Yes.
Yeah, it's nice
always-
meeting you.
Always good to have
Nice
you on.
meeting you too. Yes.
And
And,
Very much enjoyed it.
I'm always looking for guests. So if you guys, I don't know what you do, but if you guys want to come on, I mean, I've had you on, Nick. If
Yeah.
you want to come on,
yeah, we
let
could
me know.
probably come on and cover a topic that we've actually covered. if
That'd
there's
be
ever-
fun.
Yeah,
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 so-
'cause
especially since
we save all
if
our
I have-
notes. So they're all
Yeah,
there
we
still
do.
to use.
Yeah, and if you guys are the ones that are presenting the topic, it gives me a chance to just kind of like ask the questions I have instead of having to.
Oh, perfect.
It's different when three people are trying to contribute
Mm.
at the same time because it's like
I know what
oh,
you're
I got
saying,
something
yeah.
to say about that. And everybody's but it's better when you can just be like, oh, that's awesome. But what about this? It's cool.
Yeah, sounds good.
The Sid Barrett one, I'm still working my way through, but that was really good. I was really enjoying that.
Yeah, that went a lot better than I expected, and a lot of it was due to this, stuff that Lisa covered. I wasn't expecting any of that. I didn't even know that about, Sid Barrett's father prior to like me even being
Right.
interested in covering the topic. So I was like,
Yeah,
oh, this
the
makes it
mythology
even
of
just
that.
more interesting now. So
So funny that he'd be like, into mycology where ergot is a fungus, right? So it's like there you go.
Right? Isn't that weird?
Synchronicity.
And not only
or
that, but
somebody's
they
fucking
left
with
it all off, and they left it all off as obituary. So
here it is.
That is the weirdest part. It's like, yeah, no. The Matrix is telling too much. We gotta clip that part out. It's all right, man. Thank you
All
so
right,
much.
yes. So until thank you for coming on again, man. Again, Beyond Babylon Priestcraft. He's holding it up. Ballbusters. Check it out. The link for that will be in the bottom for sure. And again, thank you all for coming on. And that's the end of this one. And until the next one, everybody be well. Later.